are now watching the Amazing Mets pregame show with your hosts, Rob and CP.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on both of our channels and on X. What's up again, Mets fans? We are finally back from our off day. It felt like it was like 10 days that we didn't have a baseball game after the outstanding ninth inning that the Mets had to win that series in Toronto. And now it comes down to 16 games of the season, starting with Philadelphia in Philadelphia to try and make the playoffs. The Mets are 80-66. They're a game up on the Braves, and they're going to try to stay there, if not increase their lead going forward. And it starts with today. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Oh man, the off day was a little bit of a breath of fresh air. I appreciate everybody that was kind of locked into both of our streams as well. I know you went live with our guy Ant from the Subway to Shade podcast. I got the later round there. And I went live with Andrew Claudio from Mets Therapy. Appreciate you all that checked it out. If you didn't check it out, it's on both of our channels. Rob's stream is on his channel. My stream is on my channel. Great content. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I dropped a series preview as well, getting into some numbers to take into account for this series that I'm sure we'll talk about in this pregame as well. A little bit of a supplemental video. Link's going to be in the description if you guys missed that. Please hit the thumbs up on that as well. But this is a pivotal series, Rob. This is what Mets baseball is all about. And Steve Cohen even tweeted it out. What's better than Mets, Phillies, everything on the line pretty much from here on out for the Mets season. So I can't wait to get going. We got a couple of talking points, especially with this lineup. Obviously, we see no Marte, no JD Martinez, but the pitching matchup is also unique and interesting as well. And I think if the Mets can kind of weather that storm, and kind of break out offensively against familiar foe Aaron Nola, who's had a lot of success against the Mets in recent years, then my confidence is going to be sky high going to games 2 and 3.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a very interesting game to break down a little bit, especially, like you said, the pitching matchup. But the lineup is very interesting. But you know what even gets me more excited is that the New York Mets actually are playing games that are meaningful in the middle of September. Like it's hard to fathom sometimes because this wasn't supposed to be the way it was this year, just about the way the offseason kind of went about. And I don't think anybody, or yes, we did, but most people didn't believe that this team wasn't going to be anything. And I know I say it a lot on shows, but it's so much fun to talk about for a second before we get into the actual game, because it's September 13th. The Mets are playing 10 out of the last 16 games against NL East rivals, 7 against the Phillies, 3 against Atlanta, and then trickle in Washington and Milwaukee to finish out the season. Now, a lot of things can happen, right? The Mets can not play well against Philly in this series, but play well, sweep Washington, and it just evens out. I wanted to ask you before we get into the game, because I did ask Ant yesterday on Mets Talk Live, what do you think the win total is going to be for the New York Mets just to finish out the season? What your opinion is, and then what do you think it's going to take to actually make the playoffs?
Yeah, I was listening in when you guys were having that conversation. I kind of, said in the live chat, and for those of you all that are in the stream as well, I said 89 wins probably seems a little bit realistic to me. I think that would put the Mets at 9-7 going forward with such a tough schedule. Again, I think 89, 90 for sure. I would hope that gets them into the playoffs unless the Braves kind of just have a ridiculous pace, which obviously also is still possible, right? We're in a part of the season where the Mets have no margin for error. I think everybody knows that, but I would like to think that 90 or 9-7, 89 win total gets them in. But again, am I confident? Hell no, because we've seen what's happened in many years prior, and also as recent as 2022 down the stretch, although that was a different scenario. Like we mentioned in our post game the other day, that was for the division, not the wild card. Anything can happen. If you are a team that is getting hot right now, you are getting hot at the right time. I'd like to think my most objective mind will say 9-7, but again, I'd love to see 90, right? Imagine a season where the Mets get 90 wins, where there's people out there in this fan base saying the Mets wouldn't even reach what they did last season in 75 wins. So it's already a magical season, but if the Mets can go out there during these next 16 games and get into the playoffs with such a grueling schedule, there's nobody, right? Whether it's Mets fans or people outside of this Mets fandom that could take this accomplishment and that accomplishment away from the New York Mets. So to answer your question, objectively, I'll say 89 wins. So that puts them at 9-7 the rest of the way. I think that could get them in there. But if they want to make sure, absolutely positively sure that they will get into the playoffs, I'm thinking about 90-91 would be more of a comfortable suggestion for me.
Yeah, that's where I said. I said 90 wins. I think that's going to be where it's going to be at. Yeah, look, it's going to come down, obviously, because you play the Phillies so much, and we also play the Braves. I don't think any Mets fan can believe that Braves series is not going to mean something. I mean, it would be great if we're a couple of games ahead, and even if they sweep us, it's going to be kind of hard for us to lose that wild card spot. But it's very interesting to look at. But I mean, I know you're nervous. We're all nervous. Like, we're getting to that. It feels like when you get into a playoff series, you get that exciting nerves, and that's where we are right now, especially as Mets fans, because we've seen doomsday once before in a somewhat of a similar scenario, obviously with the division on the line, but this one is a playoff spot on the line. Still, it's big ramifications regardless of what they are. The fact of the matter is, the Mets could make the playoffs or they could not. And that's nerve wracking, especially when, one misstep in this 16 game stretch, you're out of the playoffs. Like, it's that, I'm not saying they have to go 15-1. I mean, that would be beautiful if they can go 15-1. I mean, that probably almost guarantees you a playoff spot. But, I was thinking, I'm like, maybe they can go 10-6 because 9-7 is 2 games over 500, which is reasonable considering the teams we face. But could we go 4 games over 500 and get to that 90 win total? That would be awesome. But there will, again, it starts with today's game, one game at a time. You can't worry about what the Braves do if you don't take care of your own business, right? I don't look at the Braves score until probably midway through a game. And then I start looking at the Braves score. And then I look at, okay, can the Mets win this game? Are the Mets going to win this game? If they win this game, right, it's the best of both worlds because the Braves lose, you're up by 2. If they win, you're still up by 1. So with today's game, obviously game 147 of the season, and the New York Mets got Jose Quintana on the mound against Aaron Nola. Now, I know Quintana had a really good start his last time out when all of us questioned him once again, and maybe we should all question him again because he seems like he listens when we question him to the point where it's like, get him out of this rotation. We don't want him there anymore. We obviously know the matchup favors the Phillies. Nola has been really good this year. He's had really good numbers against the Mets, but the Mets have, in a couple of games, when they get to him, they do get to him. And it's far and few between, but they can. Obviously, the Phillies have the advantage of being home, but I think it's actually really going to benefit the Mets. They're going to play in a smaller ballpark. I feel like the guys that we've been waiting for to come through, the Nimos, the Alonsos, the Alvarezes, all 3 are in the lineup today. I think these guys are going to find a way not to carry this team on their shoulders anymore, but to play above average and actually have a pulse in this series. And they're going to be a big reason why this team is going to take 2 out of 3 against the Phillies. Hopefully that starts with game 1. That would make us breathe a little bit easier into the series. Yes. I'd like to go in the next 2 games knowing that I have a chance of winning the series and not something biting my nails to hope that we hang on for dear life. What do you feel like about this pitching matchup? What do you want to see from Quintana? And what do you think this Mets lineup that we'll get to in a little bit needs to do against Aaron Nola to be successful tonight?
I mean, I definitely want to talk about this lineup, obviously, in the personnel. And I, like I said, I dropped a video today going into the numbers of these guys at Citizens Bank Park, a hitters friendly ballpark. Rob, you just mentioned it, and this is going to benefit the Mets in my firm belief. It is. But in terms of the pitching matchup, listen, The Mets have gone through their fair share of struggles against Aaron Nola. Everybody that knows it, that's watched Mets baseball for a while now. We know this, right? Was taking a look at the savant numbers from Aaron Nola this season. Typical stuff, right? Primary usage with his knuckle curveball, that damn curveball that always gets the Mets hitters off balance. And then he'll come back with a 93-mile-per-hour fastball. And really, right, his other three pitches, I think it's like a sinker, a changeup, and I forgot the fifth pitch that he has, really isn't all that great. You take a look at the batting averages against, the expected batting averages against, all that good stuff. Hitters are seeing his other pitches, but it's those two pitches that teams this year and the Mets in the past have not been able to sort of figure out in tandem when he kind of utilizes it and switches up or changes up the hitter's eye levels and slowing down their bats. So that curveball is going to have to be figured out. You can't guess up there, right? You have to always be sitting fastball. I really think that if I'm in the box as a New York Mets hitter, I'm always going to have to be sitting fastball and then adjusting to the slow stuff. Because if you do it in reverse and you expect the curveball and you get a 93-mile-per-hour fastball, that's about 13 miles per hour different, your bat's going to be very extremely late. And if it's anything above your letters or at your letters, you're going to swing right through it. I promise you. So look fastball, adjust curveball, and if there's anything else thrown outside of those two pitches, then more likely than not, I would hope that the Mets lineup continues the trend of what all the other teams have been doing against those pitches. So, yes, you're not wrong at all. The Phillies, 100%, we can't sit up here and lie to you all and say that Jose Quintana, we're confident Jose Quintana over Aaron Nola. The Phillies have the advantage in this pitching matchup. I think that's obvious on any front. Even if you were like a Mariners fan in this pregame chat, you would be able to tell us that, yes, we'll probably trust Aaron Nola a little bit more. But that doesn't diminish everything that's happened, right, with Jose Quintana in his past three starts, which he's been pretty good. Albeit one of them was against the Chicago White Sox. I understand a lot of people don't take that seriously. But again, he's been pretty solid in his last three starts. And the last one was 6 2/3 innings, scoreless against the Cincinnati Reds. Again, I'm going to say the same thing that I said on that pregame the last time Jose Quintana was out to pitch, right? And when he threw that gem against the Reds, he lives off of his changeup.
Yeah.
If you see Jose Quintana in the first inning rocking that changeup with crazy movement, getting swings and misses from it, we're in for a good night.
Yep.
But if it doesn't seem like he's getting that pitch over, right? If he's not locating with that pitch, then it's going to be a trouble outing for him. And that's kind of what I deduce, right? And I kind of break down to the simplest degree with these Jose Quintana starts. Again, this Phillies lineup, not to be taken lightly. I know Bryce Harper doesn't have a home run in the past week, but guess what? He has 11 hits in that span. He's absolutely red hot. Trey Turner is batting damn near 300. I think he's at 298 this season. He obviously has been a thorn in the Mets sides for many years, right? Whether it's the Nationals uniform, Dodgers, or now the Phillies. Castellanos, I know he hasn't really been great this season, but he still got 20 home runs. Oh, and by the way, Kyle Schwarber has put 35 balls over the fence this season. So again, nobody should be naive to the fact that the Phillies, obviously, they are leading division for a reason, and they're 8 games above the Mets for a reason. They're talented, right? But I think that Jose Quintana, again, living off the outside part of the plate, utilizing that changeup, and then utilizing his four-seam fastball like every Mets pitcher does above the hitter's letters, that's going to give him the most success. He has to be, I wouldn't say he has to be virtually perfect because it's location, location, location with him. He's not going to blow anybody away. But if his location is pristine, then I like my chances. I like my chances a lot. And then at that point, it's really up to the Mets offense to scratch some runs against Aaron Nola.
Correct. And yeah, with Jose Quintana, listen, he's not blowing the ball by anybody. He needs that changeup to work off of. He needs that changeup as a put away pitch, or even if that changeup is working, like you said, with location, that fastball can be a big key up in the zone because let's be honest, baseball nowadays, every hitter is vulnerable, letter high and above. And a lot of strikeouts in this league are based on fastballs, regardless of the speed, letter high. It always looks faster. It always looks right down the middle when you try to hit that ball. And then, you're trying to, kill the ball, and the ball is in the catcher's glove and it's strike three. So look, we know Jose Quintana is, it's either a hit or a miss. I don't think he's going to be anything in between. He's actually going to be really good or he's going to be just downright bad. I don't think there's an in between for him anymore, because when he doesn't have either that high fastball or specifically that changeup working, he's not fooling anybody with the fastball, because if the changeup is not going to be located well and not at least getting it over for strikes to have the hitter thinking, that fastball they're going to be sitting on, and he doesn't throw 96, 97 to, get it by guys, and they're going to kill the ball. And that's especially with a Phillies lineup that is really dangerous and has a ton of power. That is the problem that with Jose Quintana. It's just that, look, let's hope he has it tonight. I think that's the only thing we can hope for. I know you can say that about any pitcher, but Jose Quintana can't afford to have one of those two pitches that we just mentioned not working, because he has really nothing else to go to. Yeah, he can go to the curveball for sure. For about a month, his curveball was one of his best pitches when he was going well. But it's mostly the changeup. So it's going to be very interesting, because I think we're going to know right away with Jose Quintana if that changeup's working, if they're a little bit off balance in the first inning against him. Maybe we'll see a good Quintana, and maybe he'll give us a good 5 or 6 innings, hopefully 2 runs or less. I think that's the goal in my mind, is to get out of the game with Jose Quintana, not giving up more than 2 runs. I think that's the goal. I think anything more than that, especially the way, look, just because the Mets scored 6 runs in the 9th inning doesn't mean the offense is back. Like, they got a lot of work to do throughout the game. We were very excited that they finally came alive in the 9th inning. Why I wish we didn't have a day off. I think that huge energy and that burst of, offense, it would have been nice to play yesterday instead of today and have the off day, but this team needed an off day. We'll see with Jose Quintana. I would love to have one of our better pitchers on the mound in game 1. But listen, we can sneak a win out of today's game. We do got Sevy and David Peterson going the next 2. So, I think we can be looking pretty good if we win today. And listen, we got to do it. I don't care how we do it. I really don't care. If it has to be another heroic 9th inning comeback or 9th inning explosion of offense, hey, I'll take it. At this point, 16 games ago, I don't care if, Harper trips over first base and the Mets win the ball game because the ball hits him in the face. Not to hurt him, but just, hit him in the face and we win the ball game that way. Like, I don't care. It really doesn't matter to me. But the pitching matchup favors the Phillies. We just talked about that. We know what Jose Quintana has to do. Aaron Nola, we know that split that is a nasty pitch. I mean, it's not an easy pitch, and we all know anything that has split in it, the Mets have problems with. With the lineup, I'm a little shocked that Martinez and Marte is not in the lineup. I think Marte's hitting over 300 against Aaron Nola. Now, again, Marte could be something aching him. That's why he might not be in the lineup. So I want to give the benefit of the doubt. But I was a little shocked with this lineup. I don't know about you, Chris. Not having JD, who is your one of your bats that you got this offseason, and Marte, who's been swinging the bat pretty decent. Both are not in the lineup. I know they wanted to get, I guess, another. I mean, it doesn't really make sense because Taylor's a right-hander. I'm a little surprised by that. What are your thoughts with this lineup without Martinez or Marte?
I know they're coming off the off day, but I don't really think it's anything like to read into. I think they're just going to give him the day off because they know that he's going to be playing the next 2 games versus the lefties. Again, Starling Marte has absolutely killed it at Citizens Bank Park over the course of his career. Over 1,000 OPS, 380 batting average. I mean, why would you not want that guy in the lineup? But again, with him mashing lefties this season, he's hitting about 310 off of left-handed pitching this season. And there's 2 lefties back-to-back going for the Phillies in the second starter, Colby something, and then they have Christopher Sanchez as well in game 3. Starling Marte is going to be in that lineup 100%. So again, but we've also been saying we want to see Tyrone Taylor play more. So I'm not going to be the one to be like, oh, well, why is Tyrone Taylor playing now? This is what I wanted to see. So I think that's completely fine. The JD Martinez thing kind of shocks me a little bit. But then again, if you have JD Martinez taking up your DH spot, what do you do with Jesse Winker? And then again, what do you do with the rest of this lineup? Because obviously at that point, you'd have to bump out one of these outfielders, and probably the odd man out at that point would be Tyrone Taylor if I had to guess. So I don't know. It's a weird configuration. I really do think it's just off days for both of those guys. Winker probably getting in there versus the righty today, and then with the two lefties tomorrow, or the next 2 days, not tomorrow. There's no doubleheader tomorrow, but you know what I mean. Getting Winker in there versus the righty. Again, I hate pitching matchups. I hate configuring it like this, but knowing the Mets, that's probably the reason that Carlos Mendoza has decided to opt for this route. So I like this lineup. This lineup, again, should be able to put up runs. Like, there's no way. And there's Vientos back in a 2-hole. I was kind of wondering what they're going to do with Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo, another guy that has decent success at Citizens Bank Park. 270 batting average, over a 415 on base percentage, and he has 7 home runs in that park too. So these guys have the potential to carry this team and utilize this park to their advantage in terms of getting that confidence back and spreading it to the rest of the lineup, right? Because it's infectious, right? One guy gets going, then the other guy gets going, and then the rest of the lineup is like, hey, maybe I should be doing my part. And maybe it trickles down to the rest of the guys like Francisco Alvarez and Harrison Bader. So again, like, if you ask me, I just had a whole stream yesterday talking to you all about the abysmal performances outside of Jose Iglesias that has been these Mets bats over the last 2 series against the Reds and the Blue Jays. But tell me why, after an off day, I'm extremely confident in this offense, even though it's against Aaron Nola, right? Even though it's against him, I'm extremely confident in the Mets bats tonight. I don't know. Maybe it's just false optimism. I have no idea. But when taking a look at these guys historically in this ballpark, I like what I see. I really do like what I see. Oh, and by the way, I should mention as well, again, kind of going against, right, like the decision to bench Marte today. He does have a 350 batting average against Nola in his career. So again, like, I understand why Taylor is playing, and I want that. But when you take a look at the history of it, and Marte is also 2 for 4 off of Aaron Nola earlier this year, the statistics in the decision would have pointed, all fingers would have pointed to Starling Marte playing, but that's not the case. Let's see what we have tonight.
Well, I haven't checked it, but I wonder what Taylor's number is against Nola and in Citizens Bank, because like you could have put Winker in right field and then DH. And I'm sorry, I didn't put DH next to Winker, but he is the DH today. And I put 2 third basemen. If you didn't notice, this was a not a fake. This is not a funny typo, but it again. This is me once again. But again, when you're struggling to get everything done after work, so this is what happens, unfortunately. But yeah, Winker's the DH. You could have put Winker in right field, and that could have probably solved the DH issue and put JD Martinez in there. But like again, the Marte thing doesn't make sense. I have, and you're right about the lefty situation with Marte, but I don't. I'd like Marte. I think Marte was swinging the bat well. I know he wasn't, with the offense, they were just terrible all around. But I feel like Marte's been putting good at bats together. I don't know. It is a little weird. Again, I'm not questioning, like an angry question mark with Mendoza's lineup, because Mendoza's been doing a great job with the lineup, regardless if we thought it was a bad lineup and they would scored 8 runs in that game. So we'll see what happens. Again, this lineup should score runs. You were 100% right, Chris, that you said this, because why not? Why shouldn't they? Right? Iglesias is probably the hottest guy in this lineup. Lindor hit the big home run, so you just have a feeling that Lindor is going to get right back on track right away, especially with that big home run. Now, again, it's more important for Nimmo, Alonso, and Alvarez to figure things out in this series. You got to get going, and it starts with tonight, right? Lindor can probably try to carry us, and Iglesias can do the job in the middle of the bottom part of this order. But it's going to need more than that, and it's just who is going to step up and be that other guy. It's frustrating to continue to talk about. You would never think the Mets are a game up in the wild card the way we talk about, 3 or 4 guys in this lineup, but it's a fact. We know we can be so much better if 1 or 2 of those guys that we mentioned actually perform well. And hey, maybe Nimmo at third base actually is a good idea. Maybe it wakes him up, get him a little involved in the game a little bit more, instead of blowing bubblegum in the outfield, waiting for a ball to get a hit to him. I know it's a little bit of a joke, or a stupid joke, because I can't type, but it comes down to the same thing. Seems like every game. If it's not Lindor, occasionally, Iglesias or Vientos, it's kind of like, how are we winning? That's the only thought process that I have with that.
No, that's what it is, Rob. Be confident in that. That's literally what it is. It's those three guys have carried this Mets offense essentially this year, and the rest of the guys need to step up. That's what it is. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And Jose Iglesias probably isn't the Mets' hottest hitter right now. He is, like without a doubt, 100%. He is. So, if you're wondering, by the way, not to cut you off, I apologize about that. Tyron Taylor, 100, like 0.100 batting average at Citizens Bank Park, but he's hitting 375 off of Aaron Nola, so that's only 3 for 8. Short sample size, limited sample size, but again, I mean that's 3 for 8. So,
all right, so they're going with Winkard, who has been, for the most part, a really good Met since he's been traded here, and Taylor, obviously the numbers against Nola. So there you go, problem solved. But well, look, I'm already nervous. Like it's an hour before the game. I'm nervous already. Right? I'm gonna eat something. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, and then get ready for this ball game. Like we are gonna turn on the TV, meaningful baseball. I know we keep on saying it, but Met fans, we don't get this enough. Even in my lifetime, right? I'm kind of old, right? I'm younger than Chris, but I've seen a lot of boring, waste of time seasons at the end of the year that these games don't matter. I'm watching it because I don't want baseball to leave my life. When October comes around, yeah, I'll watch a little bit of the playoffs, but when you don't have a rooted interest, as long as it's not the Yankees, Phillies, or Braves, I'm okay, right? That win the World Series, like I don't care. But it's just good. Like I feel like 2022, where it actually mattered to have games late in the season, regardless of the outcome, because we didn't know the outcome at that point yet. I'm just excited. Like these games are so important. Don't think for a second these games are also important to the Phillies. They don't have nothing locked up yet. I know we talked about possible division a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, but it's still on the table, right? The Phillies can have a bad stretch here. If the Mets take care of business and really do damage here, they can leave out of here either with behind them 6 games, 5 games, right? There's a real plus 7 games, right? Getting closer. We all remember the Mets 7 with 17 to go. The Phillies, I think, I don't remember how many years ago, but they also lost a big lead at one point as well. So the fan base, I don't know if the Philly fan base, since they made the World Series and the NLCS in back-to-back years, are not confident about winning the division. It's with the Braves and the Mets running down their back, even though they do have an 8 or 9 game lead with both respective teams. Phillies are also have a lot to play for because they're trying to get that number 1 slot so they can get the home field advantage throughout the playoffs if it comes to that. So the Phillies have a lot to play for. We were talking about the Mets here, obviously, but the team on the opposite dugout has a lot to play for, right? They don't want to choke this away. They don't want to be the Mets of 2022. They don't want to be the Phillies that lost a big lead, many years ago. They don't want to be that. They don't want to be that next story about a collapse. So they do got a lot to play for as well, Chris.
Yeah, in terms of, no, I agree with you. I mean, it's not like they're just going to kind of roll over. Like I said in my video before today that I released a couple hours ago, this is an NLE showdown. There's no kind of rolling over to the team that's second in division, right? No matter how many games back they are, you don't do that. This is full throttle in front of their home crowd, pedal to the metal. And you know what? I was kind of like you, getting nervous at like noon today, like very early kind of jitters. I'm like, this is a big series. But then I kind of sat there and I thought a minute, and I remembered last year at this time, I was watching uncompetitive baseball from our New York Mets, and I had no nerves back then. And I was just waiting for the point, right? And we all were. You were on stream with me talking about, wow, we can't wait for the day that competitive Mets baseball gets back, right? Well, now is that time, Rob.
Yep.
Fast forward a year, now is that time. So I'm not even nervous because this is what we've been waiting for, right? And the Mets didn't go out there 11 games under 500 and went on some ridiculous run to bring themselves all the way back here just to roll over and die. They didn't do that. They know that. We know that. Mets fans should know that. So why not us, man? Why not the New York Mets? When everybody had written them off, this is my like motivational speech at this point, right? To all the baseball writers, Jim Bowden, right? Primarily Jim
Oh,
Bowden, right? I remember Jim Bowden. I remember your name, Jim Bowden, right? Hopefully you watch this podcast, Jim Bowden, and you feel like a fool because you are. How are you going to write off a team that hasn't even stepped onto the field yet? How are you going to write off a president of baseball operations trying to get his bearings together on short notice, building and restructuring a team that was left in shambles by the previous GM? Miss me with that. The
oops.
Mets are here, 80 and 66, right? This is it, guys. This is it. Next
Absolutely.
16 games, we see what this team is all about. So screw the nerves, right? Again, I'm nervous, but I'm like, if this team really is, the team that we all think they are, if they really have it within them and they really believe in themselves, they're gonna go out there and do this thing and they're gonna make us proud. So that's it. That's really it.
Absolutely. And I just got a text. This is how you know these games are important and it's getting down to the nitty gritty. I just got a group text from a lot of my coworkers. Apparently, everybody in this city that I moved to are all Mets fans that work in my location. Right? They go sports and social for Mets game tomorrow at 4 p.m. That's the text. Big group getting together. These are all Met fans, by the way, that I work with. Like it just happens that I moved to an area that has a ton of Met fans, and Sports and Social is actually a big ass bar with like huge TVs and stuff like that. So it's really nice area, really nice bar. So I guess I'm doing that tomorrow because why the hell not, right? Let's get together and let's they ain't gonna be no Philly fan. Oh, there might be, who knows? But you know, we did it with Yankee games. We did it with important games. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I guess I'm drinking tomorrow. So that's always good. The Mets win, you drink. If the Mets lose, you drink. It's a win-win. So that's what you got to do. But this is how important it is. This is when you see everybody getting excited, regardless of how you feel or your thought process prior to the season or thinking this team was terrible. It doesn't matter. We're all here together watching this team. We got this team's back. We got this team's back. Let's see. It seems like they got each other's back. Let's hope that they got our back, right? Because if they win, we're happy. If they don't win, we're mad, right? This team, look, deserving of a playoff spot is silly to say, but this team has worked so damn hard to not make the playoffs. And they know that. Just get into the playoffs because anything can happen. I don't care about their records. I don't care about who's better than who. I don't care who is the favorite to win it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't mean nothing. This team has played their ass off this year. Over 20 games over 500 since May. They turned their season around after 0-5, 11 games under. They did everything they had to do to fight back and claw their ways to right now 14 games over 500. That's an amazing turnaround. And they fought their asses off throughout the season. Finish the job and make the playoffs. And then we can talk about what can we do in the playoffs. And it starts tonight against a badass Phillies team that's a dangerous team that is not going to be easy, that we have 6 more times after tonight. Get the job done. And you know what? I'm going to be confident. I'm nervous, but I'm confident because I've seen this team show up in big moments this year when a lot of people did not believe they would. And I believe they will tonight. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if Quintana is going to make this interesting and the lineup's got to score runs. Just win. Chris, I'm taking your line. Just win, baby. That's it. Very simple.
And win game 1 too. That's really important, right? I'd like to come back tomorrow, right? You're going to be nice out there at the bar and you're going to be enjoying your time. And how much more relaxed will you be with a couple beers and and you're knowing that the Mets already won game 1. So again, we could overstate it, and I guess we have overstated it, and it's very obvious, right? But I think a lot of people take for granted winning game 1 of the series. It's probably the most important game of the series, right? So let's go out there and do it. It's a weekend series, divisional opponent at their place, good hitters ballpark. I like the Mets, rotation odds. I think if anything, right, just like beyond tonight, I think it's an even matchup in terms of the pitching. You probably are even in the back end in game 3 with Peterson and Sanchez, or Sanchez, I think his name is. Anyways, you got the pitching matchup advantage tomorrow with Allard versus Severino, and they have the pitching matchup tonight. So it's kind of even across the board. Give or take one game in the first two, and then you're even in the third. So again, this offense right now, let's also call a spade a spade. This is going to be the focal point of this series is these two offenses are a tale of two tapes on opposite sides, right, over the last week. The Phillies are red hot offensively. The Mets bats, not so much.
Absolutely.
But the Mets pitching really has been awesome in the month of September. So they need to continue that, right? Outside of that one horrendous David Peterson start there in the Toronto Blue Jays series, and we'll see him again. They bumped him up into this Phillies series for a reason, right? Get the job done and help your pitchers out by scoring runs. And I understand that we will take the runs in the 8th and 9th inning all the time if that means we take home the W. But I'd like to see better at bats early on. Even if they don't translate into runs, right? I'd like to see better at bats early on. That's what I'm watching out for. So let's go. Let's do it. That's really all there is to it with this pregame. Let's go out there and do it, man.
Absolutely. We got about a little more than 40 minutes until game time. Quintana on the mound against Nola. Lineup is the lineup, regardless of if you like it or not. The Mets are a game up on the Braves. We said our final thoughts. We're ready to go. We're confident. We have a nervous confidence in this team. And that's a good way to go about it, because if you're just confident in this team without any nerves, then you're probably a jerk. But other than that, we're going to get this job done. Why? Because I've questioned them every now and then, and they come through. In the biggest losses of the season, they bounce back right away. And with the game on Wednesday, they bounced back in the 9th inning when all hope was lost. We weren't just losing. We were getting no hit. Like, it couldn't get worse than that. And also losing the series. But they found a way to win. They broke up the no-hitter with the Lindor home run. You know what? I'm calling it right now. Francisco Lindor is hitting a leadoff home run, baby. Hitting a leadoff home run, right? Philly fans, I know you're in the chat. You're not saying nothing. I know you are. I can tell because I seen it on X. People messaging me and saying, ha, LOL Mets, they always will be. That's from a Philly fan, by the way. And I know who you are, John. I know. I went to a game with you once. Listen, Francisco Lindor taking Nola deep. First at bat of the ball game. And Met fans are going to show up. I do know the 7 line is going to be there tomorrow, Saturday, right? Yeah, Saturday, tomorrow. So I know a lot of people are already there that are going to that group out, and on Saturday, already there tonight. So it's going to be a big number of Met fans, most likely behind the dugout and all around the ballpark. So Met fans will show up in Philadelphia. I know it's not Seattle. You know, it's right down the turnpike. So I understand that. But I'm calling it Lindor, home run, leadoff at bat. If not, you guys can kill me. All right.
Hang curveball. Hang that curveball. Nola. Hang that curveball. We'll see. That's ambitious, but I like it. I like the confidence, Rob.
Hey, we need some confidence. We got to bring out the confidence a little bit, man. This team deserves it from us fans, you know. And look, if they disappoint us, we'll kill them tomorrow. That's what we do, right? That's the whole point of this, right? We're not here to sugarcoat anything. We're here to tell you guys the truth and our opinions, regardless if you like it or not, or regardless if it doesn't sound good towards this team. We got this, and I feel confident. I made my prediction. I'm done. I think we're done for this pregame show. Chris, you doing a postgame tonight?
I was just going to ask you what you're doing tonight.
Unfortunately, I can't.
Okay, sounds good. I'll if you guys see John in the chat here, Pure Journal Sports, I'll message him and see if we're up for a postgame today. TBD, would like to get one in. I got to go run a couple errands here before game time and see what time I get back, but you guys will know if you have notifications turned on. So I guess turn those notifications on. You'll get notified when we go live. I think it notifies you when I set up the stream too. I'm not really sure, but hopefully it does. Anyways, just keep checking the channel. But if not, definitely in on one tomorrow. And yeah, let's go Mets, baby. I love it. This is prime baseball.
Oh, yes, it is. So amazing Mets pregame show. Another one in the books. Game 147 of the season. 16 games to go. Let's go Mets, guys. It's do or die right now. 16 games to go to see if we're good enough to make the playoffs. So if you haven't hit that like button yet, please do. Subscribe to both of our channels. And if you're on X, I can't reiterate this enough. Head over to YouTube with that link and subscribe to the channel. I know a lot of people are watching on X. Make sure you subscribe to the channel on YouTube and build up our subscriber base, build up our Mets fandom all around the country, all over the place with the content creators. We all love you guys. We all have a lot of fun. Let's get a win tonight in Philadelphia. Let's go Mets, guys. Have a great night and enjoy the game.
Let's go Mets.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets.